Welcome back to this new video, which is actually an extension of a previous video I made on fixed assets. In that video, I actually showed you a rather unconventional method. I'm sure people would agree with me. That's fine. You can do whatever suits your application. In my case, I decided to do that. And what I did was, maybe I'll show you the diagram which I've got here. I've got big assets and small assets. What is a big asset? Printers, stuff that depreciates. Small assets, Linvar storage bins, the stuff that you put your stock in. You know, these little plastic bins you mount on the wall and it keeps your nuts and your bolts. Those things don't depreciate in value. Well, not the way I look at it. Yes, a printer depreciates in value and it breaks and that type of stuff. In 10 years' time, that Linvar bin is going to have the same value to me now then as it does now. So I'm handling it according to this. So I don't create an asset entry into the asset register. I make the distinction where I've got warehouses called fixed assets and IP assets. I actually covered this in another video. You can go and have a look. So I'm just briefly mentioning it to you. Under warehouses, you link it to an account. Fixed assets is linked to the fixed assets account, and IP assets is also linked to the fixed assets account. So the account keeps track of the value, the monetary value, and this is where you keep it, the actual track of what, where is it? Okay, what is fixed assets? Is your Linvar bins, small stuff like Allen keys, you know, those things. IP assets, your branding videos, your marketing videos, those are all intellectual property assets. All right, of course, you need to set up your items correctly to do that. I've done that in the previous video, so let's just move straight on to the big assets. And the way that's done is you've got an item and you classify that in terms of an asset category. Then you assign it to an asset entry in the asset register. Okay. Now maybe I must just show you the difference between the item definition for this and the item definition for that. So I'll do that. But let me just show you the accounts and the warehouses that I use for both these. Actually, you can't really split them really from each other. They work together. So let's have a look at my warehouses first of all. Once again, that's in the other video as well. There's all my warehouses, finished goods, fixed assets, IP assets. Here's IP assets, and there's fixed assets, scrap, stores, work in progress. Those are all the warehouses related to your production process. The fixed assets is linked to the fixed assets account. I'll show that to you where that is now. And the IP, so is the IP assets also. So you link the warehouse to an account. Where do you create that account? If you go to your chart of accounts, under your stock assets. There you go. 14605040302010. That one already exists. This is the account for the module store, the finished goods store, work in progress, and these names look the same, but this is accounts for those particular warehouses. You'll notice I don't have an IP assets account. The IP assets fixed, they're all fixed assets. But I do want to make the distinction in terms of warehouses, but not in terms of accounting. Hence this diagram here. One account for fixed assets, IP assets. All right, in terms of the actual assets, you've got under current assets, where's my fixed assets? There we go. battled a bit with that one. So here's your fixed assets. Now keep a note of these. These all link to the categories. Okay, capital equipment, electronic equipment, furnitures, office equipment. These are all the accounts linked to the various, or that you can use to link to the categories. Okay, so these are the different accounts. This I use for small things, and this I use for big things, if I can put it very bluntly. Okay, in terms of IP item definition, I'll have to go to my, I just want to see. Yep. I'll go to my production system. The first system you saw was actually my test system, because on the test system I don't have items that relate to small items, but all right, items. Here you can see fixed assets. This is, the wrist strap, Allen keys. These are the small items. Lin bin. These are these plastic Linvar bins. Okay, so how did I define that? I said that's part of the fixed assets item group. Okay, I am maintaining stock, and then I assign it to a particular warehouse. Got that? So that's for this. Now, if you want, and my code allocation, I use a stock keeping unit code 90,000. But of course you can define your own SKU numbers, but that's what I use for these small ones. For the actual assets, I use fixed assets, FAS numbers, not SKU numbers. All right, but everybody's going to have their own system for that. That's the one I'm using. Good, so let's have a look at the 3D printer, for instance. Yeah, you can see, and now there's a difference. You don't maintain stock anymore. You tick it as a fixed asset, and you select the asset category. But you first got to go and obviously go and first create an asset category. All right. The reason why I'm showing this to you first is just to show the difference between the two definitions for the small assets and the big assets. Okay. So you first need to go and do that. And the rest, oh, by the way, this you can't go and change this. You can't create an item and afterwards decide, oh, I want to make it fixed assets. You can't do that. That button becomes inoperative. So think carefully before you start allocating these, well, making these selections rather is the right wording, because you can't go and change it afterwards. Okay, right, asset category. Okay, first of all, maybe we should just first look at this. Yes, there's your item that we looked at the definition. I've mentioned this category, and then you create an asset entry. Now, let's have a look at my production system again. Under assets, I have an asset category, and be mindful that when you define this, you need a location as well. So you need to go and create a location first. So really the order in which you do this is location, asset category, and then item, and then asset. First location, then asset category, then item, and then asset. That's the way I would do it. Okay. Asset category, I've got electronic equipment here. There's some stuff you fill in. I'll run through another one now and just show you what you fill in here. Here's those accounts that I showed you, the electronic equipment account. If you want to create an asset category called computer equipment, then you would have to go and create an account that says computer equipment, all right, under 1.7, probably 1.750 or whatever one is not used. Okay, all these accounts are set up by default under the company. Let me go to my test system again, go to company, and there's everything set up. Where's my stock settings? Depreciation, there we go. Accumulated depreciation, gain loss, CWIP, etc. So that's where they're all set up. Okay, so how do you actually do this? I'll set up a dummy category on my test system just to show you. So let's close this. On my test system, you say asset category, new, and you call that computer equipment. Okay. Your finance book is your, well, I've only got one. The depreciation method is a straight line and double decline. Now the one is straight line. From the value, your value declines from the value that you paid for it to 0 over the extended period, over the period that you define it. In my case, it'll be 10 years. So you can either have it decline straight line down, or you can decline it. I hope you can understand with my mouse moving like this. It's a more curved line. Now, I didn't do any studies as to which is the best. I just use straight line. Okay. Now, frequency of depreciation in month. Is it going to be every month? Then you make that 1 month. If it's going to be every year, then you make that 12 months. I've made it 12 months. I don't want a journal entry every month. They must do it every 12 months. So how long? How many of those 12 months periods? I wanted 10 years, so you say 10. And we start on the 31st of January. Simple as that. All these accounts, this one you have to choose based on your category. Okay, now there is not a computer equipment, but you'd go and create an account, you choose computer equipment. So let's just stick to, where's building software capital? There we go. Let's just say electronic. The accumulated depreciation, that's what was set up under your company. This is the depreciation expense. It should be a depreciation expense account. There we go. Expense accounts are all under 5,000. So you want a 5,000 account here. And then, of course, your CWIP. Capital work in progress is just work in progress, but it's a capital project. So it's like a building. It's work in progress. So it is an asset, but not yet. All right, so it manages through that. This, of course, is not. It's already available. So that's how you create a category. All right. I've already got a category set up on the test system. Okay, then of course you need to go and buy this. All right. You need to go and buy it and then assign a category and create an asset. So I've got a purchase that I haven't used. Let's look on my purchase invoices. I actually saw it just now that we can use. There we go. That was actually the laser printer. All right, so that's invoice 12. Okay, so you go and buy the printer as normal, fill in your purchase invoice, do your payment. There's another video for that. And now you've got a purchase invoice. I've purchased this HP laser printer. And of course, you set up the HP laser printer in the same way as we've just discussed as a fixed asset. Okay, you have to already set that up as a fixed asset item. Right, now you've purchased it, and now we say, cool. We want to assign that asset category. So we go and create an asset. There you can see there's already two of them were practiced. So we'll say printer 3. Now I'll get to this in terms of using the same printer or the same item definition for more than one asset. I'll get to that just now because that was a question in my mind. Asset name, let's say it's 3D printer -0004. That's my fourth 3D printer. Okay, the code is, okay, well, this is actually the HP laser printer, but anyway, it serves a purpose. It shows you the item name. This you've already set up in the item definitions. That's where it fetches it from. The owner is the company. Now the purchase invoice, what did we say was that? 12, I think it was. Yep. And there it says the purchase date. It goes and fetches that. And you'll see the purchase date was the 14th of December. So it's available for use, well, let's say the 1st of January, as long as this date is after that. And of course, here's your location. It's in the Midrand offices. If you need to assign it to a person, you can assign it to the person. I've just decided it's a company printer, so it's not being taken care of by a particular person. Please note that if you want to put in a person here, you've got to go and define an employee. And together, before you can define an employee, you need a salary structure and a leave basic structure before you can actually create employees. So that's a totally different video altogether. I'm not going to go into that now. But just be aware, you can't just type in a name here. You've got to go and create an employee. And to create an employee is quite a mission. Okay, let's look at all these other things. That's all filled in. Okay, and by the mere fact that I've chosen electronic equipment means I've already chosen a depreciation, all those depreciation settings. It's linked to that electronic equipment. Now, if you want different depreciation settings for different electronic equipment, then you've obviously going to have a category electronic equipment 1 and electronic equipment 2, right, if you want to make that distinction. So just be aware of that. Okay, I want to calculate the depreciation. And there it brings up, it goes and draws it from those records, and it shows it to you here. Okay. And now you select your first posting date, and then it's going to calculate the depreciation schedule here now. All right, that's what it's going to do. So watch out, it's going to fill it here. If you've ticked that, now you say save, and you say submit, and there it's calculated the depreciation. You'll see there every year it depreciates the amount until the accumulated depreciation is the value of the product. And of course, the depreciation increases, so the value decreases. Right. And that's it. That really is it. There's your 3 assets. Now, I just want to show you this because I had a thought in my mind. This is now the basic setup. I've got an item, category, and I've got an asset. There's a different category. For a different item, it creates another asset. That's the easy part. Now, how about this? And this is in fact what I've now done. No, this is not what I've done. You can have 2 different items, let's say a 3D printer and a normal printer. They both fall under the category, but you use the same category definition to create separate asset entries. You don't have to go and create an asset category for each of them. Well, you can if it's different, but you can use the same one as well. All right, can you see the difference here, I hope? Then, of course, there's another one. This. You can use the same item. This is what I've just done. I've used the same item definition. I've purchased it twice. You can buy it you can buy the same model printer, two of them. You use the same category, but it makes two separate entries into the asset register, which is this. You'll see here, it's all HP laser printer. This is how I was practicing before I was making the video, because you can have 3 HP laser printers. The point I'm trying to make is you don't have to have 3 categories. If you want, you can, but you don't have to. So this is what I'm trying to get across in these diagrams, is the various setups, just to clarify in my head as well how this works, and to share that with you guys. Maybe you've got the same question. And I repeat what I said at the beginning when I was making these videos. The fact that I'm making these videos doesn't mean I'm some boffin, but I struggle with these things, and somewhere along the line I find some sort of a solution. It's not always the best, but I'm sharing it with you if you guys can use it and maybe twiddle it a little bit to your circumstances, and then off you go. So there it is. I think that's about it in terms of these fixed assets. I think I've covered everything. If there's a question or something, you can drop a comment. And if you've got a better suggestion, well, by all means, then we can all learn. And hope you found this helpful.